I just hit the record button. Again, I am very excited to introduce today's webinar, Beyond Beginners, Sharpen Your InDesign Skills with Julie Shaffer, in partnership with OpenAsset. It is now my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Julie Shaffer. Julie Shaffer, FSMPS Fellow and Certified Professional Services Marketer, is passionate about helping AEC marketers minimize Adobe design tools to maximize Adobe design tools to expedite content layout without sacrificing good design. An Adobe Community Expert and an award-winning designer, Julie has spent more than 2 decades honing her skills to deliver exceptional results to her clients while advancing the role of AEC marketers through dynamic training sessions. I'm done sharing my screen. Julie, the virtual audience is all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you, SMPS, and thank you very much to OpenAsset for allowing me to talk about my very favorite subject today, and that, of course, is InDesign. So OpenAsset is an elegant digital asset management solution built with AEC professionals in mind. I personally love this software. I love that they are passionate about helping marketers do their jobs more effectively, as I am. So I'm thrilled to be partnered with them on this today. And you already heard a little bit about me, so I'm going to skip over that and get right to our agenda. We have a lot to cover today. Now, this is an InDesign Beyond Beginner session, so presumably you're already using InDesign. But we still want to look at InDesign from a goal perspective because all of what we're going to talk about today is around pursuits, whether that's presentations, proposals, SOQs, whatever we're building in InDesign to pursue work. We're going to look at mastering styles, specifically paragraph, character, and object styles, and then really dive into one of my favorite subjects, and that's GREP. I'm also going to talk a little bit about templates. We'll look at some of the new AI features in InDesign, and of course, some CC libraries. Now, the proposal process feels something like this. You're juggling a lot of different things with every pursuit that you build, and right in the middle of it is the juggernaut that is InDesign. And that is my focus today. This is not a content session. This is a process session. So when we're looking at InDesign from a process perspective, we have a few goals in mind: the output and the input. So when you have a pursuit, the output is the deliverable. And what can InDesign do to help you with some of the basic features of your output? Well, the first thing is, of course, your output needs to be accurate. So you need to have compliance to the RFP or the RFQ. You need to have authentic and correct and true information about your firm. And that's where OpenAsset comes in. OpenAsset can serve as your single point of truth for your content. And specifically, I'm talking your resumes and your project sheets, the things that we use over and over again. So your single point of truth can live in a database, but InDesign can help us in some ways about confirming some things, whether or not they're accurate. And we'll take a look at that. The next thing that we can do using InDesign is making sure that your deliverable is consistent. It needs to be on brand. It needs to be cohesive. That's where styles come in. That's where templates come in. Making sure that your document looks like it came from the same firm. So we want to make sure that we build styles, have all of our assets, our swatches and things so that we can have that consistency. And the last thing is really something InDesign can't really help with, and that is differentiating. So your output really should differentiate your firms. That's around strategy, messaging, really polishing your content. So we're going to look at some ways that maybe InDesign can help call those things out, but differentiating, that is all up to you. Now, that's also a big part of the time that you should be spending on proposals. which is where I come in today for the input part. Whenever we're using InDesign, are we using it efficiently? And are we using it with some level of flexibility? Now, I bring flexibility up because we are really, really unique in our industry in how we use InDesign. A lot of other industries have a template. Think about a magazine, and that's what they go with for every issue. But we don't have that. Unless you work for a firm that only works for one client, likely you need to have some agility in your workflow. You need to be able to quickly change out your paragraph styles to Times New Roman and quickly change your margin settings. Having some flexibility makes a big difference in how we're building and using InDesign. Now, before we get into the demo part of this, I do want to talk about some of the features of OpenAsset and how OpenAsset helps us with InDesign. I mentioned, of course, OpenAsset can be your single point of truth, but you also can give OpenAsset your InDesign template files or your InDesign files, let them do the coding for you so that you can export your resumes, your project sheets, and your assets out of your single point of truth. Again, this is one of my favorite features about OpenAsset. And another really, really cool feature about OpenAsset is the ability for facial recognition. We're still looking at efficiencies and we're looking for accuracy here. And knowing that you can use OpenAsset, you can upload those employee photos, those event photos, it'll do facial recognition of your staff so that you have those and you can put all of those together as they relate to a team member. And heaven forbid somebody ever leave your firm, it's a lot easier for you to find the assets where that person is pictured so that you know whether or not you need to deal with that. So again, thank you, OpenAsset, for being here today and letting me do this and for all of your really cool tools. So let's go ahead and get started with a demo. And this is really about styles. Now, again, presumably most of you are not really beginners on this call, but I want to take a look, at InDesign or OpenAsset, but we'll get to that one, with this file. And we're going to talk about paragraph styles and character styles specifically. This is a question I get from even seasoned InDesign users. When do we use a paragraph style versus a character style? After all, both of them allow us to format our text. And if I only have a really short title like executive summary, couldn't I just use a character style for that? Well, the answer is both. We really want to use both paragraph and character styles within InDesign, but just so you know from an InDesign perspective, what InDesign designed for it is paragraph styles should be foundational for how we're using the software. Your text should exist in a paragraph style. And a paragraph from InDesign's definition ends with the paragraph symbol or the pilcrow, and only that symbol. So even if it is by itself, InDesign still sees that as a paragraph style. Now, of course, paragraph styles give us all of the text formatting and alignment and spacing and all of that stuff, but there's so much more that we can do with paragraph styles when we're using them effectively. And one of them that we'll look at today is building in character styles. Now, character styles are like little mini paragraph styles, but only for the attributes that we assign. Things like bold, underline, italic text, those little things that we want to call out in a paragraph, we can use a character style. Now, on my screen here, I'm going to zoom in, and maybe I want this text to be in bold. Great opportunity for a character style. Technically, I could go up here and manually make it bold, but that just gave me an override to the paragraph style, and I'm missing out on the opportunities to really leverage both together. So even though I just manually made that bold, I'm going to go ahead and create a new character style for this text in the character styles panel. Holding down my Alt or Option key, click the plus sign, and let's create a bold character style. Now, again, this is probably something you've already been doing, but I want to just show you so everybody is on the same page. So when I go to basic character formats here, the only thing that's applied is bold, and that is correct. Now at the bottom left, I can go ahead and add this bold character style to my CC library. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I have one already ready to go and click OK. And now here in my CC libraries panel, I have bold and I have another one that we'll use in a moment called highlights. These two character styles are here for me. So that was fine. Creating that little character style there is great. But what I really want to do with this text is I want Tara Wild to be bold in all cases. And sure, I could go manually do that. I could even use my new character style to do that. But instead, I want to build it in. I want to automate it. I want Tara Wild to be bold in my content throughout this entire process, because I know as I work on differentiating this proposal, that we're going to be getting content from all different people, from different technical team members, and we're going to be polishing that and really focused on how our content is related to Tara Wild. And I don't want to have to remember to go back later and make that text bold. So that is where the building in of character styles and paragraph styles comes in. So now I'm going to open up my paragraph styles panel, and I have 5 in the paragraph styles panel. The first is basic paragraph, and that's what's applied here in the first paragraph, and even this little floating paragraph symbol that I just want to get rid of. And if you have used basic paragraph for your entire career, that's fine. It is the default paragraph style in InDesign, but it can't be deleted. And if you ever have a corrupt file, as I have more times than I care to count, where I needed to delete a style, that was the only way I could recover my file, I don't use basic paragraph. I started years ago using my baseline paragraph style called body. So this is, I just applied it to that top paragraph. This is the style for my narrative, and every other style right now is based on that body style. That means I created the paragraph styles, based it on body, so any of those attributes will just trickle down to all of my other styles unless I changed it. When you like the bullets, I added bullets to a style based on the body style. Now, here is a fun, quick little tip. If you've been using basic paragraph and you're bringing in content from other files and it keeps coming in as Minion Pro and you want it to be in your branded body style, there is one edit change that we can make. I'm going to right-click to edit basic paragraph. And instead of basing it on no paragraph style, I'm going to change that to body. That means basic paragraph now will at least look like my body paragraph style. And at the end of the day, that might be all that we can hope for. So I'm going to click OK here, and notice if I just apply basic paragraph to this top paragraph, it looks exactly the same. So let's tackle, how can I make Tara Wild bold in every instance in my document? Because notice it's here in several places and it's underlined with red because I have my enable dynamic spelling turned on in my preferences. And you can see in every case, Tara Wild is red. It's here in the H2 paragraph style, it's in body, and it's in my bullets. And in every case, I want it to be bold. This is where GREP comes in. GREP is a command line utility developed for Unix back in the 70s. And then somewhere along the line in the mid-aughts, the Adobe team got a hold of it and repurposed it for our use in InDesign. So GREP was released in 2007 in 2 key places within InDesign that we can really leverage our automation, our cleanup. There's so many different things that we can do with GREP, and I'm going to show you several examples. But we're going to start in paragraph styles. Now, don't be overwhelmed or intimidated by the GREP acronym. In fact, most people don't even agree on what GREP stands for, except the R and the E in the middle stands for regular expression. The G and the P, it could be global, it could be general. The P could be print or parser. It doesn't really matter. For our purposes, GREP means magic. So I'm going to right-click to edit my body style and show you where GREP lives. So here in my paragraph styles options on the left navigation, about 2/3 of the way down, there is a GREP style menu. I'm going to click on GREP style, and it says I can create a new GREP style. So I'm going to click on that, and I get 2 fields. I can apply the style that I choose, and right now it's defaulting to the style of none, so nothing's happening, to the text, and the GREP code here is any digit 1 or more times. You don't even have to worry about that. I'm going to clear it out and type Tara Wild exactly as written, case sensitive and all, and then apply the style of bold to Tara Wild. And that's it. Now, when I click OK, Tara Wild in all cases is bold because the GREP within the paragraph style is applying a character style to a pattern. So if that is a word or set of words or specific digits, something, it's looking for that pattern and applying a character style to it. Now, it's important to note within a paragraph style, GREP is not adding and deleting content. So I can't tell it within the paragraph style to add a space between Tara and Wild, for example. That's not what it's doing. It's looking for a pattern and applying the character style. Well, the nice thing about that is if you break the pattern, then the character style would no longer be applied. So for example, if I just put a space here between Tara and Wild on my screen, right here, it went away. The bold went away because it broke the pattern. I get rid of the space, and now it's bold again. Now, the other nice thing is at any point, I could type Tara Wild, boom, and it's going to be bold. I could bring in text from another document, and as long as the body style or a style based on body is applied, Tara Wild will be bold. So that is a great little tool to be able to use, just again, working towards that differentiating, making sure that we're calling out stuff for our clients to review. Now, the next thing within the same document is when I need content. Now, I'm not sure about you and your workflow, but sometimes I do not get complete information on the first or second draft. And I wanted a way to alert my team members that I need content here by giving them a really obnoxious yellow highlighted text. Well, there is no highlighter tool in InDesign, but we can create a character style, which I've already done in my library. So I'm just going to click on my libraries and click here on highlights so you can see it. Now I have highlights available to me in my character styles, and that text is highlighted. Well, again, I don't want to have to do that manually. I'm going to right click here. I'm actually going to clear it out so you can see what happens. And instead, right click to edit body, navigate down to GREP style, and I can continue adding more GREP styles. There's all of this space here. I can keep going. So I'm going to do a new GREP style and apply the character style of highlights anytime I type in all caps, need space content. And as soon as I do that, that's automatically going to be highlighted throughout my document anywhere that that text exists. And that text, need content in all caps, should not exist anywhere else in my proposal or my pursuit. So all caps, need content, just a simple little helpful tool here to apply a GREP character style where you need it. Now I've done this with 2 capital X's. That's the one I've been using the most whenever I type those. I use it for all kinds of different purposes, which we'll see a couple more here in a second. But again, the nice thing is if I break the pattern, if I add text, I just added an extra space there, the highlights go away. So let's take a look at another example. Here I have a resume and I have some projects on my resume page here, and I've got some real problems. The first is that this hyphen should not be the start of the line. This is not a bullet character. This hyphen should be up here next to project. There should never be a hyphen starting a line like this based on a line break. And then the other problem, and I'm going to zoom way in here, is that I have a comma followed by a space followed by a forced line break. Well, there should never be a comma followed by a space. That really should be a city, or actually a state in this case. I'm missing the state for this project. Well, the next one down, I'm missing the city for the project. I have 3 or 4 different problems here in this content, and it would be really easy to overlook that in my rush to get this done. So what I want to do is tell InDesign to highlight where I have those problems. Now I'm in a new document now, so my new document doesn't yet have highlights here in the character styles panel. Not a big deal, because I can go back to my CC libraries. I can click on highlights, right click, and just add to character styles. So there it is. Once you've created these character styles, put them in a CC library and you never have to worry about it again. So let's navigate up here to our paragraph styles panel. And again, projects are based on body. I could do this GREP in either place. I could do it at the body level or I could do it at the projects level. Quite honestly, there should never be a comma followed by a space and a forced line break. So I'll do it at the body level. I'm going to right click to edit body. And here in GREP, I'm going to do a new GREP style, just like we did before. I'm going to apply the character style of highlights. And here in the text area, I'm simply going to type a comma space. Well, I don't know what the code is for a forced line break. Lucky for me, there is a little @ flyout menu. I can click on this @ flyout menu and find forced line break, and it gives me the \n. So you can see on my page here, that comma space is automatically highlighted so I can see where I am missing content. So again, you don't have to be a GREP coder. Use the little @ flyout. The next one I want to look at is back to this issue of a space followed by a hyphen. That should not break. So I want to create a character style called no break. And I can do that right here in the body style. I can right click to edit body. I can navigate down to GREP and do another new GREP style. So I'm going to click on new GREP style. I want to apply it to a space hyphen. And in the apply style where it says none, well, I can create a new character style from here. So I'm going to do a new character style. I'm going to call it no break. And here in basic character formats, there is a check mark for it. It's actually here in both paragraph and character styles. I do not recommend it in paragraph. But here in character styles, just hit where it says no break. Just click on that box, give it a check mark in there. That is just telling it do not break across a line. So when I click OK, Now I've told it anytime you have a space followed by a hyphen, don't break. It should not be breaking across the line so that the second line starts with a space. Now, the last one is I have a problem here of a space followed by a comma because I'm missing the city. Again, there's never a reason we should have a space followed by a comma. So I'm going to do a new GREP style. I'm going to add highlights and then do space. Literally, I'm just hitting the space bar followed by a comma. And now just those three little greps built in the paragraph style shows me as I zoom out where I have problems with my content. And that's telling me I need to look at this, figure out what the state is, maybe for this first one, go fix it in my single point of truth so that next time when I export, I don't have an issue here. So once I add a state, pattern is broken and that yellow goes away. So those are some different ways that we can use GREP within paragraph styles. And again, paragraph styles don't allow us to add, delete anything. We're just applying a character style to a pattern. So we looked at it for different words. We looked at it for a couple issues that might have some missing content. Now let's look at GREP in its even more powerful place, and that is in find change. So back in my CC libraries, I'm going to open a new document. And here I have my project team references on this page. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So I have a number of references and a bigger number of problems. First, you can see I have all these extra hard returns. I have a bunch of extra spaces. That needs to be cleaned up. And then when you look at my phone numbers, they're all over the place as far as formatting. There's some that have parentheses, some that has no differentiators, all over the place. This could be a really long editing process just for this one page if I tried to do it manually. Now, there is a script you can run that helps with some of this, but we're talking about GREP. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about. For this, I'm going to go to Edit, Find, Change. So Command or Control F. Command or Control F gets you to the Find Change dialog box. And many of you have probably been here many times looking for specific text and changing it to something else. But for this, we're going to navigate up to the top to the query section and click on the dropdown. And the first one I want to do is multiple return to single return. This is built in for you already in InDesign. As soon as I select that query, it jumps to the GREP tab and it's giving me GREP code for multiple returns to replace them with a single return. This is GREP code. You don't even have to worry about it because we just picked it from the query. So I'm going to search my story because that is this document is all one story, do a quick change all, and all of those extra hard returns just went away. Well, I can do the same thing again with multiple space to single space. That gives us even more overwhelming and intimidating code, but again, it doesn't matter. It's doing it for you. The work is already here. Make InDesign do this work for you. So I'm looking for all of those multiple spaces of any possible type of space and replacing it or changing it to the good old spacebar space. I'll do a quick change all, and you can see that cleaned all of that up. Now my phone numbers, surely they're more challenging. There's so many of them, and I did highlight them for you so we could see, well, this query is here too. Just going to click on the dropdown and choose phone number conversion dot format. Again, intimidating code. You don't have to worry about it. It's looking for the Western formatting of a phone number. So 3 digits, 4 digits. So the top part, just in parentheses, it's doing 334, and it's telling me whatever you find give it back to me in the first grouping. So the first three, that's what the number sign 1 means, the first group, followed by a period, the second group, followed by a period, and the third group. When I do a change all, it found 10 of them, and now all of my phone numbers are consistently in that dot format. Really powerful. This works, the end of your document when you have references all over the place and all different kinds of phone number formats. You can run this super, super easy to find it and run it. But I do get the question a lot. Well, that is not what our firm uses. Our firm does use the parenthesis format. That is our brand. Well, this is where you can become a GREP coder. Here in the change to, I'm simply just going to put parentheses around the $1 because that's the first grouping. Going to get rid of that period and put a space there. Then after the second grouping, I'm going to put a hyphen. And now when I do change all, now it's in the parenthesis format. And if this is what you use and this is your brand or something different from the dot format, the other brilliant thing that we can do in InDesign is save the query. So I'm going to click this Save Query button. And I'm just going to type, phone just to be quick, click OK. And now next time on my next pursuit, because this is built into your version of InDesign, this query, it is not attached to this text or this document. It is attached to your version of InDesign. You can always access this new phone query. So that was pretty easy and pretty cool. But there's one more really kind of cool thing I wanted to show you using GREP before we move on to templates. And that is, I really want my little star graphic here. I want it to be in front of all of the names. I want the nice little star icon to be in front of all of the names. Now, this is an object style, which we'll get to in our next example, but I do have an object style here for my star, and my star does have a little anchored part of the object style. But this is how fun and easy this could be. I'm simply going to copy the star, Command or Control C. I'm going to go back into Find, and here in the GREP area, I'm going to clear out everything that's here. And what I want to do is tell InDesign in the paragraph style where my name, so that's the staff name paragraph style, at the beginning of it, I want to put a star. So first I want to look only for the format. I'm going to click in the Find Format area, and I'm going to look for just the staff name. So that's going to limit my GREP search to just the paragraph style of staff name. And then in the Find What area, I want it to be the beginning of a paragraph. Well, I don't know the GREP code for that. I can go to the little @ flyout, click on that menu, choose Location, and choose Beginning of Paragraph. So now I'm telling InDesign at the beginning of every paragraph that staff name is the paragraph style. That is what I've told it. I want to change to, if you go to Other here, so I'm doing the flyout menu, Other, there's an option for clipboard contents formatted. Well, my star, because I did a Control C, technically lives on my clipboard right now. It is formatted because I have a style for it. So I'm just going to click on that, and it gives me a little ~C character. And now when I do a change all, fingers crossed, it did it. There, I've just added that fun little star icon in front of the names of my references, all using GREP. So we looked at GREP in paragraph styles. That again, assigning a pattern or character style to a pattern. But here in Find Change, this is where you really can make a lot of headway using GREP. Now, the next part I want to talk about is templates. I'm going to right-click to edit here to open my new document, or excuse me, right-click to open new document. This is a template file. So I've created this template and I saved just this one page as a .indt file here in CC Libraries. So the only difference between a .indt file, a template file, and an InDesign file is the extension. Functionally, they are identical. The only difference is the extension, and when I open it, it opens as an untitled document. But because I can save a template in a library, but not an InDesign file, then I use templates all the time. I save assets all the time as .indt files for my CC libraries. Those things that maybe I couldn't get out of an OpenAsset or some other, in my case, a lot of demos. But here we have a project sheet. And the first thing I want to do is create an object style for the photo. I want a nice big photo at the top. And we've already talked about paragraph and character styles. So let's create a new frame for an object style. So I'm just going to click and drag, make a frame here. And now I'm going to create an object style for it here in my object styles panel. I'm going to hold down the Alter Option key to create my new style. And this, of course, is an object style based on a frame. So it could be in a graphic frame or a text frame, but in our case, it is for this photo. Now, I know for my project sheets and my template that I need my project photos to be exactly in this place on the page and to fill the frame proportionately. So on the left, under basic attributes, I'm going to scroll down to frame fitting options and just choose to fill frame proportionately. I'm going to start there because it's at the bottom of the list. If I do nothing else, then every photo that I apply project photo to will at least snap and fill the frame proportionately. When I scroll back up, I'm going to stop here at size and position options. I'm going to select size and position. And because I have a frame selected, I'm just going to tell it the height and width and the X and Y coordinates. The position and the size are going to be exactly this size, 8.5 in my case by 5.25. That's the size of this frame. And that top left reference point is right at the 0-inch page, X and Y coordinates. That's all I have to do for this object style. And I'm going to click OK here. And now anytime I use it, it's going to fill that frame proportionately. So I could just go into OpenAsset if I wanted to. I could grab this photo, drag and drop it into InDesign. Let me make sure my OpenAsset panel is open. Just going to click and drag here. It detects the frame. I'm going to click, and now it is filling the frame proportionately exactly as I needed it to. So that's a quick use of an object style in InDesign, and probably one of my favorite uses. Now, the next thing is a little bit off topic, but it's a question that I get so often, I did want to show it to you. And that is the fact that I have placeholder text here that's all, has the red because spell check is finding that is not English. And so spell check is going to get hung up every single time. Now, if this is an issue for you and you hate to do spell check because you're getting hung up in maybe some of your templates or your parent pages that have placeholder text, because I hear this a lot. How can I exclude placeholder text from spell check? Well, here's a fun little quick tip as we get close to the end here. I'm going to go to my paragraph styles panel. And here I have this text. I have it, the body style, but I'm going to duplicate the body style. I'm going to select body. I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key, click the Create New Style button, and I'm just going to call this body copy for now. I want it to be based on body because I want everything else about it to trickle down. But if I go to Advanced Character Formats, The reason that it's getting hung up in spell check is because the language is English USA. But if I change this to no language, well, now notice the little red went away. It no longer sees that as a language, and therefore it is not misspelled. But that makes me epically nervous that we're going to accidentally use this style when we shouldn't. We're going to have misspelled words everywhere. So I'm going to go a step further for my own peace of mind. I'm going to navigate down to paragraph shading, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of shading so that I can see when I'm in normal view and InDesign, I can see that it's shaded. So that tells me or my coworkers that my text has no language. But here in the shading area, I'm going to check do not print or export. That means the shading itself won't actually print, it's just here for us in InDesign. And now that text will be excluded from your spell check. It is set to no language and we see it as gray, so you don't even have to worry about it. So that's a body copy style, hopefully to solve a question that I get all of the time. And in my last couple minutes, one more tip about templates, and then we'll open it up for questions. This is a template file. Obviously, I've added a photo to my template. But one thing that I did is I created an object style for my main content. So you can see this frame kind of goes from margin to margin. And then I have my sidebar is in a different frame. It has its own object style on a different layer. So I have the sidebar on a different layer because we're talking now about flexibility, and in my template, in many cases, I need to have a sidebar, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I need I don't have any sidebar requirements. I just want the text to extend across the entire page, and I don't want to have to do, that kind of thing. What I want to do instead is take a look in my layers panel. And all I did is I created a new layer here called sidebar. And again, this is a not for beginners class, so hopefully you're using layers. So I have a new layer called sidebar. And if I right click and look at the layer options, I checked to suppress the text wrap when layer is hidden. So I created my sidebar, gave it a little text wrap, and then this is checked when that layer is hidden. So now if I hide the layer, the text just reflows automatically. So in my templates, I like to build this level of flexibility so that you can feel like you can be using template files in your workflow and still have the flexibility that you would need for pursuits. And with that, I think I want to open it up for questions.
Thank you, Julie. We got a lot of chats coming into the chat line. We've got about 12 questions in the Q&A box. Pam, did you want to go through the Q&A, or I can read them? But I thought maybe you'd take us through it.
I am happy to do that. So one question, we're going to start with the topic of GREP. The question was, where does GREP exist in the sidebar to make changes?
Where does it exist in the sidebar within the paragraph style, I assume? I'm going to write.
I am assuming it's like your sidebar with your shortcuts, with your paragraph styles, your character styles. They're looking for a GREP, I believe.
Great question. So if we're looking for a GREP panel, so up here from window panels, you're not going to find it because it lives inside of a paragraph style. So if I right click to edit, we'll say the body paragraph style. GREP is here within a paragraph style. And the other place it lives is in find change. So that is either under edit, find change, or Command or Control F. There is a little GREP tab here. So it actually isn't its own panel because it's either used within paragraph styles or it's used within fine change. So those are the two places that GREP actually lives. Great question.
All right, next question. When I use a no break style on the body style, I don't base my other styles on it because funky things happen to my headers. Is there a better way?
So in using the no break style, and again, no break, I'm just going to show you what it looks like in its most dramatic form. I think I had a no break in, here we go. So if I just selected this text and made it no break, it's going to completely fall apart. It's not going to know what to do because it's not breaking that text across a line. So I only use no break for like 2 characters only. So just a space followed by a comma, which shouldn't happen, or the space followed by, the hyphen so it doesn't break across the line. So just don't use it necessarily for the whole style. Just pick certain things that you want to make sure don't break across the line. Now, if you're having issues with your header because that no break is there, you can go back in and maybe edit your header and just get rid of it here. So I can always go within any style based on the body style and delete out the GREPs that I do not want for those paragraph styles. So I may not want in my H1 style, which is my biggest one here, I don't want no break. I'm just going to delete it. I'm just going to hit delete here in the GREP style area so I don't have to worry about it. Another great question.
All right, so a very popular question. Is it case sensitive? GREP.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for asking. I'm going to right click to edit here again. GREP is completely case sensitive. It is all things sensitive. The number of spaces, all of that. If there's extra tab characters or anything in your text content, make sure, I'm going to go back here to my little Tara Wild. Make sure that you have it exactly what you want it to be. So if you add an extra space here, then it can start to fall apart. So I just want Tara Wild exactly as written with a capital W. I want it to be bold. Great question.
All right, next question. Does the GREP style have to be applied to the entire document, or can we apply it to single pages or even single paragraphs?
So great question. So from an overall flexibility automation perspective, right, I did it to be global to the document. If you only wanted to do it for maybe what you select, just some of this, it would be kind of a manual edit, but you can, in your control panel across the top, go to the far right. There is a panel menu for the control panel, and there's a GREP Styles option here. So I'm in the control panel, and if you can't see that, make sure you're under Window, Control. That gets us this nice panel that stretches all the way across the top. Go to the little baby menu, and there's a GREP option here, and that's essentially like the override for GREP. So you could override certain things. Maybe I don't want Tara Wild in this little part. That just went away. So that's kind of your GREP override area. Great question. So many good questions, y'all.
Does the highlighting export to workflow documents?
Does it export to, did you say words flow or
It says words flow documents.
Does it export to words flow documents because it is a character style? Technically, yes. So it should export even if you don't have words flow and you export your story as an RTF, yes, that will come in highlighted.
Great. Okay, so there was a bunch of back and forth in the chat, lots of helpful folks, but I thought it might help if you show a quick little, or how your character style set up, how to create a highlight.
Great question. I'm going to select some text here just to show you how I've created it. There is no highlight tool in InDesign, but what I can do if I want to manually see what's happening or visually see what's happening, I'm going to select some text, navigate to my control panel across the top to the 6 little T's that indicate caps and superscripts and things. The third one in the top row is the underline. what we're doing is hacking underline. So I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key and click on the little underline icon. Then I'm going to turn underline on. I'm going to turn the preview on. So you can see that I have my text here is hard to see because it's selected, but it is underlined as expected. I just made it really, really fat. So here's the magic number, 12 point with a negative. I'm actually hitting -4. So -4 point puts that solid line. It makes it basically as big as the text. So 12 point, negative offset, meaning it's moving that line up. And then I'm going to change the color just to yellow. And then the type, of course, defaults to solid. So here is the magic. I'll show it to you again if you want to take a screenshot. I'm just going to go up here. I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key. It's not going to like that though, because apparently it opened somewhere else. Well, that's all right. We'll just take a look at it here in the character style. When you create it, and I created the new character style, the same thing is happening here in the character styles panel. It is an underline turned on. The weight is 12 point. The offset is -4 and the color is yellow. It does default to a solid line, but if that makes you uneasy, you can still even apply the type of solid here. So that creates the highlight character style. So it looks like yellow highlighted text. One thing it does not do though, I'm going to click OK. This is not going to translate to like a comment in Acrobat or anything. It's not going to translate to anything like that within Acrobat. It's just going to be like everything else, but it will show up as yellow highlighted text.
Fantastic. Okay. Next one. Is it possible to create a GREP style based on a no break? Our company name is 2 words and we have a rule about keeping it on one line in paragraphs.
You bet. Similar thing. I'm going to right click to edit body here. And here in the GREP style area, you could do a new GREP style of no break for your firm name, ABC Environmental, exactly as typed. So I think my little firm name in this, there it is. It's fake right there. I'm going to do a new GREP style. This is not the one with a no break. So I'll just create one quickly. And I'm going to say, no matter what, ABC space environmental should never break. I'm going to click OK here. And here it is. It doesn't look like I really did anything, but I'm going to try to force my frame here to see as it flows. Can I make that ABC environmental break? Nope. As soon as I get right at the edge of it, notice the entire thing moves to the next line. So I know a lot of firms that do that so that their firm names never break across a line. Just make sure it is typed exactly as you want it to be typed.
All right, the next one is I work with a template that contains many different styles. Is it possible to apply a GREP style to all pre-existing paragraph styles at once?
Is it possible to apply a GREP to all pre-existing paragraph styles? The easy answer to that is no, because InDesign doesn't necessarily know what is pre-existing. Now, if you have in your template, you have your new styles, and maybe you have GREPs within all of the new styles, and then the old ones come in. If that's what you mean, I mean, you can apply them to the current ones, but there's no way for InDesign to know which ones are pre-existing in that way, if that helps.
Okay. Next question is about libraries.
Yes.
And I'm going to throw this question in with another question. Someone asked if you can say paragraph styles in CC libraries, and someone asked, can the GREP styles be saved into the library so they can be accessed when using older files?
So the answer is yes. Now, again, the GREP style lives inside of the paragraph style in our case. So here is my body style. And in your paragraph styles panel at the very bottom here, at the bottom left, it says add selected style to my current CC library. So I'm just going to click on that. And that opens up my current CC library. So here it is. And now I'm going to go to I'm going to create a new file just so you can see. My new file has nothing. I have no GREP. I have only basic paragraph. So from my CC libraries, I can just right click on body, add to paragraph styles. So now it is available to me here in my new document. And with it came any of the built-in character styles that I added to the GREP, because I had added bold for the name, highlights, and the no break. So all three of those character styles came in with it from just the one paragraph style. So yes, you can have it here whenever you need it.
Okay. We've got so many questions for you, Julie.
Mm-hmm.
What is the relationship between body and your headings? Are the headings based on body? Will this apply if our heading styles are unrelated to the body styles?
Great question. In my case, yes, right now, my heading styles are based on body. So that's why the setting did trickle down here to my heading styles. If they are not connected or not based on the body style, then you would need to right click to edit maybe whichever heading is your base level, or you might need to add the GREP kind of across whichever styles you need to. So I often base the headers on the body style. Sometimes my headers are enough different that I base all the headers on a different style. So I would maybe have to put GREP in one or two places. Great question.
Is there a shortcut to change the font family and all paragraph styles at the same time? We have some documents with OTF and some with TT. With them saying without having to open every document and change each paragraph style individually.
So if you have been using paragraph styles consistently, so let's just say you have a body style in all of those documents, even though the font's a little bit different, you could use the book feature, put them all in a book and sync them to one that is correct. And that would basically override all of the body styles to the one that you want. So that is one way to do it. It's a little bit more of a complex answer than I can give you, but please feel free to reach out to me and I will help you with that further.
Okay, this is a quick one. How do you turn on paragraph marker?
Oh, great question. Under the top menu type, the very bottom of your list is the show hide hidden characters toggle. It is also on a Mac, Option Command I or Alt Control I to show or hide those hidden characters.
All right. Do you have to have InDesign to use the template through OpenAsset?
OpenAsset has InDesign templates. There's also some other template types within OpenAsset. I know they have Affinity Publisher, but yes, for what I was showing you today, you would need to have InDesign to use the InDesign templates out of OpenAsset.
I don't have spell check enabled on my InDesign. Is there a way for me to turn that on?
You betcha. It's in preferences. Shortcut is Command or Control K. Command or Control K. And it is here in spelling. So about halfway down, dynamic spelling, make sure that check mark enable dynamic spelling is turned on. So this is default turned off. Whenever you install a brand new version of InDesign, this is default turned off. You want to turn that on in preferences. So on a Windows, it's under your edit menu, edit preferences. On a Mac, it's InDesign preferences. For all of us, it's Command or Control K.
Okay. Can you clear old styles from important and copied files so I can start new? I only see a way to delete them one at a time.
So an easier way to delete it, if they are not in use and they're in an old file, if you go up into the paragraph styles panel, there is a little, panel menu here on the top right. There is the option to select all unused. So if the style is not in use in your document, you can select all unused. they're all going to highlight, and then you can delete them all at one time. So you don't have to do them one at a time. You can select all unused and do it that way. This works in paragraph, character, table, cell, object. I mean, it works on parent pages, swatches, getting rid of all of those unused styles.
Is there a way to ask GREP to apply something only to the beginning of a sentence?
Well, so you can do that with GREP. It's pretty complicated. An easier way to do it within a style is using nested styles. So if I right click, I'm going to just actually right click to edit the bullets, for example. So there is some GREP code you could do. You could tell GREP through code to do it, but InDesign is gracious enough to give us drop caps and nested styles. This is based on the location in the paragraph. So a nested style is going to start at the beginning. So just to show you quickly, I'll just tell it to be bold through one word. And now all of my bullets, the first word is bold. So if you want it really based on the location within your paragraph style, I think this is a little bit easier way to manage it.
Are there any Julie Shaffer templates available for download?
Reach out to me. So not full templates available for download, but I would love to hear what you need.
Thoughts on saving cloud versus desktop?
Yes, so the new InDesign, there is a new .inddc file type. So there are 4 possible InDesign file types. That is the newest one. It is an InDesign cloud file type. And I think it was because the InDesign team wanted to keep up with their friends over at Photoshop and Illustrator. I will tell you, just fully transparent, it is really new. I have not had a lot of success with it working the way that I would like it to work. So I do recommend you continue with the InDesign way, regular InDesign file. And I've heard from other firms that from a security perspective, they really don't want to use that. So, you know, a lot of firms have pretty secure servers. So we still, here internally, we still stick to regular InDesign .indd file type.
There was a lot of chat about exporting your favorite paragraph character styles, exporting. But then there was also the question of best way to share your styles amongst team members to keep everything universal. I feel that's going to be one answer for you.
Well, really 2.
Oh, okay.
They both live in the same place. So the best answer is either put your paragraph and character styles, like all of your styles, in a CC library that you share with your team, or you create a template file that has everything that you need that you share with your team, either on your server. I could save these .indt files on my server or my local drive, or here in CC libraries, then share those with your team so that you're starting from something branded. Of course, if you're using OpenAsset, you'll have those templates that are already branded that you'll export out of their system. But for the other things, absolutely use CC libraries. That is the easiest way to share with your team members.
Julie, Pamela, I hate to be the wet blanket. It's 1:03. I'm happy to let you keep going. Yeah. What do you think? A few more questions, Pamela. What do you want to do? We still got 700 people hanging on the line, so
Okay.
no one's going anywhere. But go ahead. What do you think?
If Julie's okay going, you okay?
Yeah, Julie, your call.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Continue.
Okay. Is there a way to add multiple pages to CC library template?
Yes. So an InDesign template file is basically an InDesign file. So I have InDesign template files that are the full template, the full on, 50 pages of, whatever the template looks like. Because I saved it as a .indt file, all you have to do is just drag it from your local drive, your hard drive, your server, drag it in here, and you can have multi-page files here in your CC library.
Is there an object style format you can apply to ensure all headshots fill the frame the same way?
So the easy answer is, of course, you could apply and create a resume headshot style. The only problem is if it's the same photographer and they're all cropped the same way, then that's a really easy way to tell the object style to follow that crop. It's when you're kind of all over the place as far as the croppings go with your headshots. There's really no easy way to tell it to always put the head at this point in the center of the frame necessarily. You can't really do that universally when you have all different resolutions and things for your headshots. But you can at least create an object style like I did for that project photo in this other version, wherever I put it, just similar to that, but for a resume headshot.
Do GREP styles stay within the InDesign document if you share the InDesign file with other team members?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So the GREP styles live in the GREP styles within the paragraph style. Yes. The fine change part of it, that's kind of you do it when you need it. So those fine change queries only live in your InDesign version. You can't export the queries and share them with your team members though.
What is your recommendation for using GREP to automatically remove window orphans runts, essentially singular words wrapping to the last line of a paragraph?
So I'm going to right click to edit the body style again. So widows and orphans are when you have a single line of content that either that's floating by itself. So that is the window orphan. You can manage that here in keep options. So I'm in the body style right now, and I'm just telling it to keep the lines together so at least 2 lines of the paragraph stay together. So if this story flows to another column or another page, at least 2 columns or 2 lines of text will stay together. Now, a runt is when that little last line, even though it's part of the paragraph, is just like a little short, tiny little word. And I'm not sure if I can replicate it here very easily, but where you have, I almost got there, like this. So where I just have practices kind of by itself, that's not really great. There's 2 things you can do. I can right click to edit the body style again. And here in indents and spacing, there's a balance ragged lines feature. And if I turn that on, it balances them, but notice what it does to the spacing. Like now I've really lost some real estate in my document because I have like a whole inch here until I get to the edge. So that does exist. I don't love it. I don't normally use it. To get rid of a runt, this is GREP code, and I'm going to click here on GREP style. I'm going to do a new GREP style. It is a no break. And this is a go with me on this one. The code is period, curly bracket. I'm going to say I want at least 10 characters on the last line. So I'm going to type 10. So open curly bracket, the left one, now the right one, and then $sign. That's basically just telling it that is GREP code saying the last line needs to have at least 10 characters. Do not break across, make it less than 10 characters. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, left curly bracket, 10, right curly bracket, $sign. You could, of course, change that number to 5 or 20, whatever in the middle. 10 seems to be a nice option.
Is it necessary to anchor the sidebar to content in InDesign to ensure it adjusts properly when additional content or pages are added?
Is it necessary to anchor the sidebar to the content? So if I go over here to, are we looking at my project page? I guess I would have to see an example of that. I have not found a need to anchor this to anything because there's generally, it's right here with my text. But if for whatever reason I needed this to be anchored, then I could anchor it. It is going to get rid of that layer functionality because technically you can't anchor on multiple layers. So as soon as I anchor it by dragging that solid blue square at the top of the frame to wherever I want it, it gets rid of the layer capabilities. But technically it does keep everything together, if that is what you're looking for. That's not something that we have to do much with sidebars. But here on my other example, because I have these little stars as anchored objects, they're staying with the text.
I need InDesign training that is interactive, just like this. Any suggestions on classes for intermediate users?
Yes. Reach out to us. I know that FSMPS has resources and others. I do a lot of chapter trainings, so I know I would love to be able to advise you on that.
Is there a way to remove another firm's paragraph styles if you import their file into your document?
Yes. And this is kind of a training for another day of how do you really clean up your paragraph styles panel. But let's just say that I don't want contact info. It really should be the body style. I could click and drag that to the trash, replace it with my body style, and kind of go through that process. You can speed it up with a fine change queries and speed it up even more with a script after you've built those queries, but reach out to me for more questions. That's like its own hour-long session on how to do that.
How can I adjust how InDesign stacks, combines spacing between paragraphs of different styles?
How can you adjust the spacing? Let me go back over here. I'm gonna right click to edit. We'll say I'll do the bullets. I'm gonna right click to edit bullets. So here in indents and spacing, you have some options in space before and space after. I have preview turned on, so I'm going to increase the space after, so it's pretty obnoxious. But if it's paragraphs of the same style as this bulleted list is, you can also make that just 0. So you can, if the paragraph styles are the same, you can tell it between paragraphs using the same style, give those their own little setting. And then once the paragraph style changes, the space after could be its own little setting. So that is an easy way to be able to manage styles and the spacing between them.
How do I apply the star to some but not all staff name styles? Does it have to be done manually for each?
How do I apply the star?
Star. Staff, but not all.
The way that I did it was, of course, to show you how you can do it based on the paragraph style. If I just wanted it for just one, let me just, I'll just delete little David Browns here. I could just click on my star, drag the anchor point to in front of the D for David. So that just gives me the star connection. Now I already have the object style. Go to object styles. I already have a little anchor in here. I'm just going to right click and choose apply star. That's going to snap it into place because if I right click to edit star, here in the anchored object options, I'm telling it to anchor itself relative to the anchor marker, which is in our case, the beginning of the paragraph with these settings. So I put it where I want it, and then I create the object style with the anchor. But yeah, if you just want them on the one-offs, you can do it that way.
Any suggestions on making Word and InDesign work better together?
That is a full entire session for another time, but yes, you can do that. In fact, I strongly recommend it. You can use style mapping. I have an article on it. Reach out to us and we'll send that to you.
Okay, let's see. Being recorded. Okay. It's another meaty topic for tables.
Hey, Pamela.
Yeah, I think we're good.
I am sorry. Yeah, no,
Reach out to
Netflix
Julie.
just called. They want to give Julie her own series. So
I know.
no, seriously, this has been incredible. But I think like we better put a wrap on it, ladies. Folks got to go. It's almost quarter after the hour. So thank you so much. Julie, you've already given so much already. Any final thoughts, takeaways for the audience to kind of put a bow on this? This was incredible. This was an incredible show today.
Yes, my final comments are please use styles. please, hopefully after today, you are convinced to use paragraph and character and object styles and go play with GREP and see what you can do. I'm excited to hear from you.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So at this time, and on behalf of FSMPS and our partner, OpenAsset, I want to say thank you to our presenter, Julie Shaffer, for a great show today. And of course, thank you to all today's participants. This program has ended. You may now disconnect. Have a great day, everybody.